Welcome to Tunnel Vision. I'm your host, Riley Sager. Tunnel Vision brought to you by USCFootball.com. I'm alongside Ryan Abraham and Connor Morrissette. Before we get into the game, how we doing? Just a little check-in.
Doing all right. It was a travel day this morning, out early of Midway Airport, and Connor and I made it back to watch a little sports, took a little nap, and we're ready to go. We're ready to talk about this. I think I'm refreshed. I didn't really go on any kind of rants until now, but I'm ready to go on a rant today.
Me too. Got a lot to talk about. How are you, Riley?
I'm good. I'm excited. Week 5, we are recapping USC versus Illinois. At Illinois, the Fighting Illini won 34-32 in a walk-off field goal. So, like you said, guys, a lot to get to. But we want to hear from you, viewers at home, listeners. Bring your comments to Facebook, YouTube Live. If you want to call us at 512-4-TUNNEL. We want to hear from you. You can talk to us live. Like I said, questions, comments, we want to hear from you. So we're excited to hear what you guys have to say. Obviously, the first loss for USC this season. I'm sure there's a lot of angry fans out there, but we're going to try and cover this game as much as we can. You ready, guys?
I think we're ready. Yeah, it looks like the chat's going off on YouTube. We're live on Facebook, like Riley said, and you can call us 512-4-TUNNEL if you want to therapeutic rant or whatever you want to do. Yeah, I can help you with the microphone there, right?
Yeah, sorry about that.
No, you're good. It's good. I don't know. I think I can want to just start with a rant. You guys cool with me ranting a little bit? Or
all right. Should we give you a timer, like 2 minutes?
No, there's no timer. This is my shit, so I can do what I want. I can say what I want.
Let it rip.
Inexcusable loss for USC. This was not a game that the Trojans should have lost. Were there things going against this team, like Kamari Ramsey getting food poisoning and being out, having a 9 a.m. local kickoff time, body clock time, losing your starting center, during the game. Yes, there's adversity happens, especially on the road. This is still the same team that got absolutely pummeled by Indiana the week before. This is not the top 10 Illinois team that we thought it was. We knew that this team would come back and play better. Brett Bielema was a tough guy. He's a tough coach. You knew they would want to try to control the football, limit possessions, a lot of the stuff that teams have been doing against USC. To me, this was, look, the beginning of the season, a lot of people felt you start 4-0 and it's going to be tough to go get a win on the road at Illinois. But then you start seeing the season layout, and a lot of the teams on USC's schedule that you felt were going to be bad or felt going to be really good haven't looked as good. I mean, for Notre Dame to start 0-2, they're playing better now for sure, but they started 0-2. Illinois, you lose by 50 to somebody like Indiana that a lot of people didn't think were going to be as good this year. There's some flaws on the team, and this is stuff that you're Lincoln Riley, you're Danton Lynn, you're one of the highest paid head coaches. You're one of the highest paid assistant coaches. You got to figure out a way to go and get a win. And this was a winnable game. And it wasn't even as close as the score was. The fact that USC was leading this game with 1 minute and 55 seconds left is insane. It was almost the reverse Maryland from last year. A whole bunch of stuff had to go USC's way, where last year against Maryland, a whole bunch of stuff had to go against USC. For USC to be able to do, score that touchdown, 2-point conversion, get the turnover, score again, and for all that to happen and take a 1-point lead at the end, with 1:55 left, a lot of stuff had to go USC's way. There was a lot of beneficial things that happened to USC. To me, there was too many self-inflicted wounds, and I think I don't want to hear the excuses. If you are one of the highest paid coaches and you're one of the highest paid defensive coordinators, you're going to be missing guys. Look at the Illinois roster and look at the USC roster. If you wanted to add up and we had the NIL calculator that was actually accurate, I'm going to guarantee you USC's players were getting about double what Illinois' players were getting. So you might be missing some guys, but you have a roster that's more star-studded. There's more high-profile dudes on it. You have to figure out a way with whatever you have to make it work. And USC not only did not play well, it was very sloppy to still have a whole bunch of penalties. to have the kind of turnovers, to not be able to get a stop, to not be able to get after the quarterback, knowing that Luke Altmaier was sacked as much as any Power 4 quarterback has been, and knowing that you're leading the nation in sacks, you can't figure out a way to make that work. So I'm putting, if you want to say, well, this guy was out or that, look, you don't need excuses. You got to go win games. All we heard about in the offseason was how much things were improved, how much things they fixed this, they fixed that. And I get it. And the discipline and all of, and it's great to all wear the same tracksuit when you walk into the stadium, but you can't have 8, 9, 10 penalties a game. Connor's got the numbers. USC is one of the worst penalized teams in the country for penalties, number of penalties, and yards. You can't go on the road and do that. And I think this is one of those situations that if you know you're going to be at some sort of disadvantage, you know that you're going to have an earlier body clock kickoff time, and you got to go into this, and they had a plan. Lincoln Riley talked about it. They had a plan. First, they flew out on Thursday. The players flew out Thursday. For some reason, they were trying to keep it secret. I have no idea why that was. It seemed really dumb to me. But to me, that you're worrying about something stupid, like we don't want people to know when we're flying to the game. Like maybe there's a good reason for it. I can't think of one. But that just seemed like an unnecessary distraction. If you're telling people, don't do an Instagram of yourself on the plane because we're not telling people we're flying on Thursday. Like that just seemed kind of stupid, to be honest. I mean, just my honest opinion. I don't know why you're doing that. I haven't asked anyone at USC, tell me why it is. If there's a good reason, I'll come back and say, hey, my apologies. There was a really good reason for that. I can't think of one. To me, it's just a stupid distraction. I don't think is the right thing. But you have to go in knowing that, okay, we wake up in the morning and Kamari Ramsey is not going to be able to play. It's one of those things that you might have a buffer because, you can mess around a little here, mess around a little there. You start having a few things go wrong, and then it's like you have to gather everyone around and be like, hey, every I needs to be dotted, every T needs to be crossed. That means you can't have those kind of stupid penalties. You can't have a penalty that negates a 75-yard touchdown. Yes, I get it. It's your backup center. But if you're going to run that trick play, and the most important thing is for the offensive lineman to not run downfield, he'd probably never practice that because he's not on the first team. That's got to be your whole job, is to make sure look, just block your dude and don't run downfield. Everything else will take care of itself. To me, it just seems like they didn't come in here and everyone was on the same page. It seems like defensively there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes that just isn't working. You can't always have extra, maybe you're used to being able to goof around a little bit and play here, play there. This was one of those things where a bunch of things haven't gone your way. You need to be as buttoned down as absolutely possible. And that's on the head coach, that's the coordinators, all the coaches. You got to make sure the players are like that. And they weren't. This was super sloppy. They were lucky to be as close as they were. And this was a game, to me, knowing you want to go out and be a ranked team on the road. You've struggled going out in multiple time zones. So to me, you needed to have 100% focus. And I don't care how many dudes are out. You need to focus on and look good doing it. If you look good and you weren't sloppy, but you guys were just getting beat one-on-one and things like that, fine. But they didn't look buttoned down, and that's what they needed to be for this game. So I'm not using the excuses of this guy's out or that guy's out. You had plenty of good players. You got guys that are getting paid a crap ton of money. Figure out a way to get a win. This is, to me, an inexcusable win.
Inexcusable loss?
Loss, yes. I think it was pretty good the whole round except for that.
No, I agree with a lot of what you said. Super frustrating, and I was confident in USC's chances to win this game heading into the matchup, and that's been well documented. Said a lot of stuff on Instant Analysis, said a lot of stuff on Tunnel Vision last week. I think the most frustrating thing is Illinois clearly not as bad as they showed against Indiana, and we said that, but they're just not an explosive offense, and USC's defense made them look so explosive. The numbers are so bad where Illinois against FCS Western Illinois, they averaged 10.5 yards per pass, 5.6 yards per carry, punted once, and they allowed 3 sacks. Against USC, 12.3 yards per pass, so worse than what Illinois did against the FCS opponent.
And isn't that worse than any game in Grinch's last season?
Yes, worse than any game in Alex Grinch's last season, so just terrible. 5.1 yards per rush, which is close to what Illinois did against the FCS team. 1 punt, same as the FCS team, and 1 sack allowed, worse than the FCS team. I didn't expect USC to go in and play comparable to what we saw against Illinois from an FCS opponent defensively. That was mind-boggling to me. And I know there have been some issues with this team, especially in the secondary, but that's a huge problem where they allow 500 yards and all those points, and they get a couple of lucky fumbles. That was a great play by Eric Gentry, but man, to only have Illinois punt once, it's an offense that punted 9 times against Indiana the week before, 6 in the first half when the game was still in the balance. Like, it's just nowhere near good enough defensively, and that's what's so frustrating. So the fact that it came down to the final play of the game, I give USC a lot of credit for fighting back, overcoming some of those defensive mistakes. But that defensive front, no injuries there, no injuries in the linebacking core, and to have 2 tackles for loss, 1 sack from a freaking corner, that Illinois offensive line was not good, and they got the message from their coaching staff, they got to be nasty. I think the most frustrating thing is USC has put so much into we're going to win in the trenches, we're going to win in the trenches. And they didn't have Elijah Page at left tackle. That made a difference. Killian O'Connor goes down. But I still think they did enough on the offensive line to win. Defensively, they just got manhandled in the trenches. It was staggering. I did not expect to see that. They got no push. Altmaier diced him up, who has a lot of experience. But the fact that Illinois was so explosive offensively, that really was a surprise to me. And the season's not over by any stretch. USC will get healthy, and we'll see what happens against Michigan. But I am deeply, deeply troubled by that defensive performance. I don't know how you can't be. For so much that they've put in, money, retaining Lynn, getting Keyshawn Silver, Jamal Jarrett, guys in the middle, Eric Gentry coming back. Kamari Ramsey was out, but they ponied up a lot of NIL money to keep him. So clearly that's a huge loss. They just put so much into this, and that's the output. I was stunned, and man, with Lincoln Riley, it's just the same old story where the team looks soft defensively. Brett Bielema, before the game, said they're from California, we're going to wear them down, and that got all USC fans upset, like, oh, they don't know what's coming, the peristyle was on fire. Look what Bielema said. He doesn't know what he's talking about. And then what happens? USC gets manhandled. It goes exactly the way Brett Bielema said, and Illinois wins. So we'll see how Illinois goes the rest of the year. They're better than they looked against Indiana, but I don't think that they're as good as we thought still. And, man, that should have been a USC win, even with all the stuff going against him. Defensively, with Danton Lynn in the second year, that needs to be better. Super frustrating, and that's why my prediction was so off. The defense was terrible.
It was terrible, and I think you have to figure out the road issues because they're still there. Against Purdue, defense wasn't good either. Think about this, though. Against Purdue and Illinois, there were 4 drives where Illinois and Purdue were driving into the end zone, and USC got turnovers. Now, they forced it. I'm not going to say lucky, but it's pretty fortunate when you're inside the 5-yard line and getting turnovers. And they got 4 of them in 2 games.
They got 3 inside the 5 and then 1 more in the red zone.
And so you're talking like that's the odds of that happening are not very good. And you won the Purdue game closer than people thought, and then you end up losing this game. But without those 2 turnovers into the end, like red zone, end zone stuff, like you're losing badly. So to me, it's more about you shouldn't be relying on that kind of stuff to happen. They're not playing up to the standard. And yeah, it would have been nice to, leave early or whatever, but that's not change. I think it's more about, the attitude coming in. Like this is the coaches. You got to prepare these guys to be in a road environment. And I think whatever they were doing last year obviously didn't work well. And I don't think it's worked well so far this year. I thought it was good that you want to leave early, like give the guys extra time. I mean, and some people don't care, some people do, whatever. But then they got all weird about it and like made it secret and stuff. So just play better. You got to play better on the road. Like you're not going to be getting those kind of turnovers as teams are driving in. You got to force more punts. You got to get some stops. And it's just annoying and frustrating. And like you're way too much money being spent for those kind of results.
They got to be better than what Illinois has shown this year. Like that needs to be a game where even if there's some adversity, you go in 7-point favorites. Like Vegas thought USC was winning this game, even with all the going west to east and all that crap, the early kickoff and whatever. Like the line was the line. USC was favored by 6.5 points in this game because on a neutral field, they are the better team. That's why they have such a big advantage, and just to crap it away was frustrating. One other thing on the food poisoning, it affected more guys than just Ramsey. But like, remember last year against UCLA when the flu ran through the locker room? Like No one was talking about that. Like, you just got to go and execute.
Yeah.
And Riley talked about that, Lincoln Riley, after the game, and I give him credit for just saying stuff needs to be better. But, man, that was a loss that really hit this team hard, and we'll see how they bounce back because the team was defeated, dejected after that defeat. They got the bye week now. Michigan comes in a couple weeks. Like, things are teetering a little bit, which is a big surprise to me because I did not think USC would look that bad defensively. And I got a lot of stuff here. I want to talk about the secondary, why they're struggling so much. But that is the big surprise to me, just how bad this defense was. I thought in year 2 with Lynn, they would not give up 500 yards to a team that just hasn't been great on offense this year. That was a major, major surprise.
And the offense was elite. It really was. Like, I mean, there was 2 bad turnovers. The Wayman Jordan fumble. It was like the worst time possible. Like coming out and then knowing that.
Well, at least it was early.
It was, but the problem was you needed to get a lead on this team. I think not getting the lead, and Illinois was going to get the ball in the second half. And USC got really lucky in the middle 8. It could have went terribly wrong, and they ended up doing okay in the middle 8. But the way it was going, that turnover helped, and USC ended up settling for the field goal. They could have made it a little bit better, but there was a lot of things that sort of went there. But what Mekhi Lemon's been able to do, it's that kind of performance to be wasted. It's tough. It reminds you of like some of the Caleb Williams performances that were wasted. And but the offense, as far as like, they're not punting. Like, they punted once in this game. If you don't punt a lot, like, you're going to do really well. And the Jade Mayoff was eventually going to throw a pick. I wanted to see less than 2 no more than 1 turnover. He had 1. You're going to have one eventually. Like, that's okay. I don't put it on him. There was a stretch in the middle. He was just high. It just wasn't himself. And then he got back into it again and threw some nice balls and stuff. But
he did enough to win. It wasn't perfect, but he did enough to win.
Yeah. We got a couple calls already. I don't know.
Wow.
Should we, Riley, you want to jump in here and
Yes.
should we do that? Okay.
Yes.
Do we have to unmute?
Yep.
Let's see. Let's start with. This looks like. I'm not sure. Oh, that's Mitch.
How are you guys? Well, it's been a minute. How you doing?
Hey, Mitch.
Frustrating game. We could have won this game with offense. I can't believe our defensive line was that tired. I thought we had a good rotation. 9 o'clock game their time. I mean, but 2 things. I think they lost last week too, and I think it was pretty much by offense. Indiana, I think he's going to win the Heisman. Fernando Mendoza, and 2, Mekhi Lemon. He's like a human vacuum cleaner. Anything, he caught everything. And it's weird angles. I mean, the ball was just perfectly placed, and he caught them all. He caught everything. I think that one play with an illegal or illegible play downfield, that number 50, I remember his number. I don't remember his name. I think it's the 7th. Number 50, by being downfield, not in the block, and I had no reason to think that course is the game. But it doesn't fix the defense here. Especially at back 4. Anyway, thanks for taking my call.
Thanks, Mitch. Yeah, no, Mekhi Lemon was special, and
it's a shame that performance.
There were 75 yards that he didn't get.
Ends in a loss too. He was incredible. Not enough adjectives to describe what he can do right now. And man, thank God that he's out there, because without him yesterday, they would have been in trouble. I don't know why Illinois continued to single cover him and not double him. They doubled him a couple times, but at the end, that last touchdown, coverage was pretty good. Mekhi Lemon was just better. So, an incredible performance from him. I think he was Pro Football Focus's highest graded receiver this weekend. He's been phenomenal.
That was without a 75-yard touchdown. We only have the ability to have 2 calls waiting at once, and as soon as that one ended, another one came in. So I guess we'll jump to another one.
All right, part 2.
This is Reggie. Let me get this in. Hey, Reggie, you're on Tunnel Vision.
Good evening, guys. Thank you for the show. Just got a quick question. I agree with you guys. The team looked unprepared. Obviously, Riley's, clock management's terrible, and it's been terrible over the years. Obviously, that last play where we had the ball and we scored, and everyone thinks we scored, including myself, we scored way too fast, right, which was reminiscent of, if you remember, in 2023, the Utah game at the Coliseum, where I think literally the time was almost the same way, like a minute 46 left on the clock. Anyway, my question is, does he not have people in his headset telling him, hey, maybe we need to slow this down? I don't know how this actually works. We've got people in the box or whatnot, but do you think maybe he was just too stubborn to go against the advice that potentially? Because I think we had both plays or both games. It was a first down. Maybe we could have ran the ball a little bit more. But do you think he's too stubborn to maybe slow it down a bit? Because in both games, the defense could not stop these guys, right? As Nick Saban would say, they ran through our butts like poop through a tin horn. But anyway, let me know what you think. Great show. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Reggie.
Thanks, Reggie.
Yeah, it's a good topic. I'm not even sure your thoughts on it, Connor. But as far as coaches being stubborn, they're all stubborn. Yes, they're super stubborn people. Like, that's just like a normal thing. I don't know if he was advised, hey, we should do this. He was asked about it after the game, addressed it. And I think it's what he said was very logical, that if you can score, you score. You don't have the luxury of picking when. And I get it. I think he's incorrect. I don't think that was the right take in this case. You knew that your defense has not been able to get a stop, and the offense can almost do what it wanted. So I think you would rather, even if you're going to take a knee and just run some clock and let them, call timeout or something, you're not going to do that. But running or something, USC was effective running the ball on that drive. I think it's definitely worth doing that, not throwing it in the end zone right away. I just feel like that was the wrong move. And it was great. It was an amazing throw. And in a normal situation, yes. But if you wanted one unit to be on the field longer to ensure you win the game, I would much rather have the offense out there. And I think he made decisions that would have backed that up, the taking more time. Yes, you run the risk of not scoring, but I would rather have a 3rd and 5, knowing you got 2 shots to throw it to Lemon or something to win the game, versus relying on that defense that can't stop, couldn't stop anything to get a stop. So I think you'd much rather have that. Yes, maybe he has better chances to score first down, sure, but I think you have a better chance to run the ball a couple times, and if it works, that's great. If you get another first down, that's even better, and then you can run more clock. But I feel like it's better with the offense out there. He went for it on 4th and 6 or 7 or something earlier on. Like, he was showing with his offensive calls and what they were doing that they didn't trust the defense, that they were going to keep the offense out there. So to do that earlier in the game, I think it even reinforces more that you should have done that late in the game and said, we are going to control this with the offense. We will run the ball, and who knows? Illinois might have let you walk in and score. If you did that, that's fine. But I think you have to consider that. Put your best out there. You put your best out there so fast, and then you put your worst out there, and you're going to lose the game. So I feel like you had control of the cards, and you just gave it up. And you'd much rather just keep control. And if you don't score, I can tell you, I would be sitting here saying, well, they should have no. I get it. Like, hey, run the ball. Do whatever you got to do. You would much rather have the offense running than relying on the defense.
I agree, and it's so hard to criticize them when they did score and they did take the lead, but when they have a 1:55 left and all 3 timeouts, Illinois, what did everyone think at home? What do we think in the press box? Everyone who watches USC this year, and in that game, they were like, oh, there's too much time. They can't get a stop unless they get a fluky fumble. So I'm with you, but I have a hard time raking them over the coals because they did take a lead.
You did score, but
that was a game where the offense, whoever had the ball last, was going to win. And USC's offense was rolling for those last 3 drives, scoring touchdown. Things were going well. I agree with you. Go down fighting with your best unit and run it there. Take a little bit more time off the clock. It's hard to be too critical of it, but USC's offense was rolling. USC's defense was doing terrible.
Yeah.
I think he did get outmanaged there, and it's hard to say that when USC scored a touchdown, but I think all the defenders of the play are like, oh, well, you never know what's going to happen, and Illinois could have made a mistake, but they didn't make a mistake.
No.
Didn't you think USC got cashed out on all the Illinois mistakes before then with the 2 forced fumbles? So
when we saw the drive start, there was 6 minutes left, and we were sitting next to each other, and I think I said they need to run this whole clock. That was the whole point of the drive. You got to score.
Or 30-second, a minute 55 with 3 timeouts. That's an eternity.
Yeah, that was too much. And I felt like and I was like, okay, I didn't know if you could do it, run the 6 minutes. I'm like, you need a 6-minute drive. But then you get down there under the 2-minute warning, 1st and 10, at the 20 or whatever, now you can do it. And then they did, and it's just like throw it in the end zone on that first. It wasn't even like a dump off, you ran it in. I'm like, this was a throw. Like the play was to try to score a touchdown on that play, which I just don't get. And even the earlier score where you went for 2, like that just showed so much confidence in the offense. Like where you're going for the 2 and you can try to get the win. Like you were thinking that was like more advanced stats thinking to go for 2. That wasn't happening before. You're doing that now. If you then you went back to old school, just try to score. Like no, yes, it's hard to be critical. I'm not like raking them over the coals, but if someone's going to ask me what was the right call, that was my dad called and was like, why did they do that? I'm like, yes, a lot of people are thinking that. But the way Riley called the game and the way he was running it, to me, it showed that you should have tried to take some time off the clock on that drive.
What's the identity of this team right now, 5 games in? It's the offense is explosive, the offense can score points, and the defense you're just hanging on for dear life, which I can't believe I'm saying that. I really thought that they would be better, especially in this game. But that's the reality right now. You got to just hope they don't screw up. So what do you do in that situation? You should put the ball in your better unit's hands and not rush to score. But if USC was at home, maybe I'd feel differently, and Illinois had to march down the field against a hostile crowd. But, I mean, Utah, as the caller pointed out, did that in 2023. And it's too bad that there were very eerily similar penalties where the Bear Alexander roughing the passer and the DJ Harvey pass interference, which was questionable, but man, he did have his hands on the receiver. Like penalties aided that drive too, which not a huge surprise when USC's ranked 128th out of 134 teams in Division I in penalty yards right now.
Yeah.
Or 131 out of 134 in penalty yards, 128 in penalties. Like it's not good.
We got another call, Ryan.
We also have a super chat.
Oh, okay. Well, here you'll do let's super chat it.
Now, I can't pin the YouTube comments, so I apologize for that. But GS7585 wants to know, please help me understand how our defensive line was such a dumpster fire.
I have thoughts on this. So Illinois, Shotgun was down on the field, our coworker, our colleague, our friend, and he made it clear, texting us, putting it on X. Illinois, that offensive line, they were playing with a chip on their shoulder. They were doing some things, I wouldn't call it dirty, but they were definitely pushing the envelope after the play, playing aggressive, setting the tone. And maybe some of those guys were dealing with food poisoning on USC's side. That's maybe an excuse. But, like, USC just kind of just took it. They didn't fight back. That's what's so frustrating. Like, Illinois was doing some stuff, and, yeah, there was some pushing and shoving. But you need to let the game do the talking. You need to let your performance do the talking. And Illinois' offensive line, they let their performance do the talking when Illinois averages over 5 yards a carry. And USC's defensive line doesn't have a tackle for loss, doesn't have a sack, and they give up the 5.1 yards per carry. That was what the strength of this defense was, and it totally disappeared against Illinois, which is another shock. That is an incredibly frustrating part of this, where you got Anthony Lucas, Cam Fountain, Braylon Shelby, all guys who USC was confident in enough to where they didn't add anyone from the portal. And Chad Bowden reached out to all of us and said, we don't want any defensive ends in the portal. We trust that this group will be enough. Well, they weren't enough yesterday. And then in the middle, I don't know where those guys were. Some nice plays from Jakeem Stewart here and there. He recovered the fumble. I noticed him, but Keyshawn Silver, his big play was that penalty that was lucky. It was offsetting. USC put a lot of resources into the middle of the defensive line, and shame on me. I thought that they were really good after the first 4 games. They were totally disappeared. It's frustrating. Overarching point is Illinois, they did some things to take control of that game. They pushed the envelope. They were physical. They were nasty. And USC's defensive line wasn't, and that is a joke. That is bad.
Yeah. Oh, shout out to Jeff, too. I agree with you, man. Jeff gave a super chat earlier. He thanked me for the rant. So thank you, Jeff.
Thanks,
We
Jeff.
didn't mention that. Yeah. I know. So Sunday nights, there's some weird YouTube thing where we can't get the YouTube comments to go up. So my apologies, but we can't put them on the screen. If you're on Facebook, put your questions and comments in there. Riley can put them up on the screen. We're going to save your comments, though, if you have questions, and we'll ask them at the end if we have time, because we have just call after call after call. Should we do another one? This one looks like Mark,
Let's do it.
I think. Is this Mark?
Yes, this is Mark. How are you?
Hey,
Good.
Mark.
Good. You know what? I know you just addressed this question, so but my thought when I was watching the game is the only way we could have won is if we scored with about 30 seconds left. I thought that was the only way we could win, because we're not going to stop them.
So I think you have to run the ball there. I just can't understand why you throw it in the end zone, because the game was over when we scored that touchdown. The odds were overwhelming that they were going to win it. They got a great field goal kicker. They have 3 timeouts left. I don't even understand how this decision isn't completely overwhelming that you run the ball. I don't get it. And I've thought this through a million times. So that's my question.
Oh, thanks, Mark. No, I agree. I actually said, I'm like, dude, as soon as they fumbled that first, I'm like, I think it was over at that point. Like the first fumble.
But
I'm
then
like,
the
Jordan
game
one?
came down to the last play of the game. It wasn't over then.
you knew it wasn't going right.
Well, yes, but they came back and took a lead in the fourth quarter, to their credit. So I totally get what Mark was saying there, and yeah, we addressed it earlier, but it's just tough to really analyze that when they go up. Like if they tried to waste clock and didn't score, like I would probably be hammering them, right? So the fact that they did take the lead was huge, but yeah, I think it just goes back to the strength of this team right now is so clearly its offense, which I didn't think would be the case. And yesterday that really, really was true, where that defense, we have talked about it a lot, it was just really, really not good, and they needed to win the game on offense. You'd hope your offensive-minded coach would understand that,
Yeah.
but he didn't.
He did not. We got another one.
Another one?
This is Nick in Dallas. Nick, welcome to Tunnel Vision.
Hey, how you guys doing? Fight on. Yeah, I'm gosh, watching that game yesterday, you guys. The positive I'll take from that is, despite the penalties and the fumbles that Jordan had and the pick that Maeva had, they still had a chance to win the game until the last. They had the lead until the last to the field goal. Having said that, though, I think it was an aberration weighing the fairness for the Illini for getting their butt kicked from Indiana previously. Because I think they took the frustration out, and I also thought that USC came out flat. So I kind of put the clock management also on Lincoln, but also on Anthony Lynn, because I believe that the defensive line is better than what we're giving them credit for. I just thought they came out flat, and and then I tell all these friends of mine back here in Dallas that, the Illini and USC, we had 2 penalties apiece. I mean, two turnovers apiece. So really, it was really even. As much as they dominated the trenches, they really didn't beat us by much, because I think they totaled the yards by 11 more than USC. So I think we'll be okay. I thought Seward made an interesting point saying it's better to win going into a bye, winning than losing. But in this case scenario, I think they might be good, but coming off a tough loss like that, because in the game with Michigan coming up in a couple weeks, and I feel we're going to come back and beat, especially after what happened last year after one this after. That game against the Blue will get preface for Notre Dame. But I feel good about this team. So let's just go ahead and reset everything and get ready for Michigan in a couple weeks. But I like what I see from USC so far. But we'll be okay. Like I said, the penalties will stop the run, and we'll be fine. And we'll go from there. But let's just get ready for the Blue in a couple weeks and just go in and go ahead and take this bye moving forward. Thanks for taking my call.
Thanks, Nick. I mean, I think Nick's right where you're talking the Michigan game is extremely important. It's a must. Now it's must win. You have to go. I think you have to play well on the road at Notre Dame. I think certainly at Nebraska. You can still achieve a lot, but this was a game that was very winnable, and then you could have, save one of those losses for later on with a tougher opponent. I don't think Illinois is going to be as good as we thought they were preseason. We'll see, maybe, but you have to play. You knew that Illinois was probably going to be, could they have folded and let the Indiana blowout cost them another game? They could have, or they could rally. We saw the Ryder Cup, like Euros rallied. Like this was a team, they rallied, and you have to respond to that. And that's why I said the early fumble just sort of was like, ugh, you just gave them all, the best thing to do is go out, put points on the board in the first drive, and make them think like, oh, here we go again. They weren't thinking that. They were like, hey, well, we can win, and that's, so USC sort of gave them their confidence back as opposed to going in and trying to put a beat down on them. And then when you don't get any stops, as good as the offense was playing, it wasn't going to put pressure on Illinois because they kept having the lead. They could keep doing what they wanted. They could keep running the ball. They could do whatever, anything that they wanted to do, they could do because USC just couldn't get any stops. So I think they needed to play more button down and sort of put the pressure back on Illinois. And they played more of an Illinois game than a USC game, and it cost them.
The team has a chance to get back on track and be better, but it's not like they have a bunch of chess piece moves coming back that they can make on the defense. Kamari Ramsey returning is obviously huge, but like Alex Graham coming back to play nickel, he was going to be the backup nickel before Prophet Brown got hurt, and then Prophet got hurt, so he elevated to the starter, but he hasn't played college football yet. So relying on him to come in and free everything up, I don't think is going to help. Like USC at the cornerback spot, what they have is what they have, and those cornerbacks are frightening. So I do think the team has a chance to work itself out and improve, but like the fact that in week 5 the defense takes a major step back, like what has Lincoln Riley talked about all season? What does every good coach talk about? You got to improve week to week, and I saw a massive regression yesterday with Ramsey out and with some other factors, but I think when you have D'Anton Lynn and you have this defensive staff and the NIL budget that USC has, you should be able to overcome some of these losses in the secondary and not have it look as bad as it did. That's what was so disturbing to me. They take this massive step back. The secondary looks awful, and I do think a big part of it is USC is just really inexperienced there, where D'Anton Lynn at UCLA in 2023, everyone in the secondary for him was a 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th year guy. Last year at USC, everyone in the secondary was a 3rd, 4th, 5th year, 6th year guy. The only exception was Kamari Ramsey in 2023 was a 2nd year guy. Now you're relying on 2nd year Marcellus Williams, 2nd year Braylon Conley, D. Reddick, a true freshman who had some nice moments, and I know he wasn't expected to play, but Lynn's biggest issue right now is his young players aren't getting this defense and they look lost. USC can't play man because the corners can't keep up with the receivers. They can't play zone because the corners don't know what to do. And I think if Lynn has older, more experienced guys, we see he can have success, but he's really struggling right now to get through to these younger guys, and that's on some of the other assistants as well, Doug Belk, Trevon Reed. It's a major problem and something I didn't anticipate.
Yeah. We have a really good comment. Jamie says, I was at the game and USC was playing from behind the whole time. Ryan is right. The Wayman fumble set the tone for what kind of game it was going to be. I just saw Ryan is right. So
it set the tone, but
it did set the tone. It was a bad, and I think even when something like that happens, yes, the game wasn't over, but that just meant, all right, sudden change, defense go make a play. No play. Offense moved the ball. Like the offense did their job. There was a couple turnovers, but they still, they put it one time. But you needed, okay, rally around, defense step up. And if you're missing Kamari Ramsey and whatever's going on, you have to figure out a way to make it work. And they just couldn't make it work. To over 12 yards a throw, not a completion, a pass attempt. Luke Altmaier looked terrible last week against Indiana. And for him to look like Joe Montana, you can't let that happen. And so to me, that's like, you needed to make a statement after that opening fumble that the offense is going to carry the day. They screwed up on the first one. So step up and make a play, and they just never did.
And with Altmaier, he's not on any draft boards early. He's a good quarterback. He's experienced.
Yeah,
but he's at best a backup in the NFL. I thought the days of USC making players look way better than they actually are were over when you retain Lynn and you bring this defensive staff that they have and all these players back from last season. And the Fagan 65-yard little dump pass for a touchdown and multiple 60-yard completions and the 29-yard touchdown that when Braylon Conley was in coverage, I'm sorry, Illinois is not as good offensively as they showed yesterday. We went over the numbers to begin the show. USC looked like an FCS defense against them, and the numbers back that up. It's just unthinkable and it very, very disappointing.
Yeah.
I mean, we knew the secondary coming into this was an issue. I think USC fans were just hoping that the defensive line would be able to do something in terms of impacting the quarterback, so you wouldn't have to worry about the secondary trying to make up for it. But we didn't see that happen. And like you said, Connor, Caden Fagan, did I say that right?
Yep.
Was he 250 pounds? Outrunning our corners, yeah, USC's corners,
good.
That shouldn't be happening. And, over 12 yards per pass, the line needed to do more. You guys have talked about it all show, but yeah.
No, it's a really good point. If the secondary is going to be an issue and your top secondary guy's out, Kamari Ramsey, who's not put up crazy numbers. He's playing a little out of position, but he's certainly a leader there, could wear the green dot. I think I bet it changed things for sure. But then you rely on that deep defensive line, where guys were healthy, to make a play. You lead the nation in sacks. This team gave up a lot of sacks. And if they're going to push back a little bit, you got to punch them back in the mouth, and it just didn't happen. And they needed the defensive line, the front seven, to step up more and make some plays. But they got gashed in the run game. Certainly, obviously, just every time Altmaier dropped back to pass, it was statistically a first down. Like, you can't let that happen.
I push back, too, on they don't have enough talent defensively.
Yeah, that's bull.
Yesterday, to me, was a total coaching issue, and I just thought that Lynn totally got outmaneuvered, which against an Illinois offense that struggled, that was a surprise. I keep saying a surprise. Clearly, I'm surprised. I know people watching this will say, what were you looking at the first 3 weeks? I get that, or the first 4 weeks, but I did think they would have something up their sleeve, or just it would look better. And we all thought they'd go 4-0, and then this was the big test, and they totally failed that test defensively. But I don't buy that, they don't have enough talent. They should have done more in the portal. That would have helped, obviously, but like those defensive guys are pretty dang expensive, a good amount of them. And there are some playmakers there with Anthony Lucas and Jakeem Stewart. I know he's a true freshman, but he's in the middle. We saw him make some plays against Michigan State. Keyshawn Silver, Jamal Jarrett, Eric Gentry, Bishop Fitzgerald is out there, and the Carlos Nicholson comes back to USC. He could have entered the portal and gone somewhere else, and they clearly really needed him. Like, there is talent there. It might not be all-American talent, but there's better talent than what they showed.
Yeah, there's enough talent to beat Illinois.
Yeah, or just to not give up 500 yards.
Just
like that.
maintain.
Yeah, or make him punt a couple times. Like,
Yeah.
just getting
9 punts
gashed.
versus 1. Like,
Oh.
you get 3 punts, you win the game. Like, you can get 1 punt. That's what you get. 1. Yeah, that's no bueno.
No, and like the fact that the game came down to the last play is still crazy when Illinois had that much success moving the ball. I give USC a lot of credit for getting back into the game. Jaden Mayava still playing better than I thought, even though he had some high throws in the middle of that game. I liked the Hassan Longstreet run. That was cool to see. Makai Lemon is amazing. Jacoby Lane playing hurt was awesome. Wayman Jordan didn't have his best game, but he still rallied, had a couple nice runs. Like, there is still a lot to like. The season's not over, but, man, that was just an opportunity to get one because Illinois was not as good as we thought they were going to be. And for the defense to just totally lay an egg is just one that leaves a bitter taste in your mouth.
Yeah.
It kind of seemed. Is there any live callers before I ask questions?
No callers. We can do some questions, or if you
Okay.
have some thoughts before we do that, whatever you like, Riley. Dealer's choice.
Oh, well, just in terms of the defense, it seemed like, and no pun intended, it just seemed like Lynn was on the defense instead of like being aggressive and being one step ahead of Illinois. Like, do you think he just was one step behind, or obviously the penalties and yes, discipline, that's been a problem all season, but like what was going on with Lynn?
Well, Ramsey being out really
Yes.
hurt them, and they started the game with 5 defensive linemen, which they haven't played a ton of, and they went with Kevin Longstreet at nickel at first, and he got beat a couple times, and then they put in D. Reddick, and I was talking to Shotgun. He thought maybe D. Reddick should have been in a better spot to help Braylon Conley on that 29-yard touchdown. So it's clear Lynn doesn't trust some of those guys in the secondary, and you can see why on some of those plays. So I think the fact that they were down Ramsey was killer, and he's the green dot and a leader, and that is a big reason why USC looked like they weren't prepared and looked behind the 8 ball in this game because he's so influential in what they did. But yeah, a lot of people in the chat are talking about how USC would rush 3 consistently after starting in that base package with the 5 defensive linemen, and the Illinois offensive line held up really well, and the linebacker play wasn't as good. So I think that's another thing. But I do see a lot of these younger players just thinking a lot, and Desmond Stevens graded out well, but there are times where I feel like he's thinking a lot, and in the secondary, people are absolutely thinking too much, and no one's playing free and like they kind of know what they're doing, which is a surprise. So
Yeah, and they did last year. I think they played really free last year.
It's because they had experienced older players. This is a new challenge for Lynn right now where he's relying on younger guys. He's never been in this spot to rely on this many young players, and right now he's losing that battle. So I think that has a lot to do with it. I don't know if I totally answered your question rightly.
But
Yeah.
USC stepped up in the offseason. Penn State came after Danton Lynn. Danton Lynn played at Penn State. They were willing to pay him a bunch of money. USC stepped up, gave him a raise. I mean, he's getting, I think he's the second highest paid defensive coordinator in the country. They hired Jim Knowles, I think, for like $3 million a year. Like Denton's in like the 2.5 or something.
2.5, which is
crazy.
a lot.
But Jim Knowles, who won the national championship with Ohio State, Penn State gets him away. So they were serious about getting a defensive coordinator. So USC, the administration stepped up. They really believed in him. And I think when you're getting paid that kind of money, I was singing his praises all last year. And maybe there's all these problems behind the scenes that we don't know about, but this product was terrible. And I think he would say that it's terrible. Like, you can't have that happen. You can't be that bad on defense, especially against a team we saw. And yes, week to week, things are very different, but a team that gave up a ton of sacks, that punted the ball a lot, like, you're not going to do what Indiana did. Like, that's a perfect storm, but you can't be that far off from you can't make them look like, oh, now they're Ohio State. Like, no, like they looked so bad last year. There are things you could have done to make them, to screw some of their drives up. Like, you couldn't screw up any of their drives. Like, they had a couple turnovers. They punted once. Like, that is not, fumbles going in the end zone and stuff, crazy. Like, that, you're not relying on that. Like, you needed to do something schematically to slow the Illini down, and they just weren't able to do it. So I think they went out and hired a bunch of other coaches and stuff too. I don't know if they're just not all gelling, working together. I'm not sure, but something isn't working, and you got a bye week to figure it out. And Lincoln Riley's the head guy, and if he has to start saying, look, you're not doing this anymore, you do it, whatever it is, he's got to figure this out because the defensive product is awful right now.
Couple things. People in the chat are asking if you want to call 5124-TUNNEL. That's the number.
Oh, we got 2 more calls. Crap.
And super chat.
Oh, we got super chat. Okay, go ahead. Do you want to?
Super chat from John. Was at the game. Way too hot for September in Illinois. Their Cantor Cruz was the MVP. He set the tone, played beyond the echo of the whistle. He was nasty.
Who was nasty? There was I'm sorry, what was the?
Cantor Cruz?
Let me see. Hold on.
Do you see that?
Their center. Oh, the center.
Center.
Okay,
I was like, okay.
Yeah. No worries. Yeah. So the center. No, the Illinois offensive line that was bad all season, and it was all veterans, everyone coming back. They played with a chip on their shoulder for sure.
Yeah, and I'm tired of people being like, oh, everyone always does their best game against USC. Like, you should want opponents to get up when USC plays them, and that
don't let them.
Exactly. Yeah. The fact that
you could stop a team from playing well.
You can stop a team from playing well.
Yeah.
They just didn't.
If you let them go bananas, like you let them go bananas, like they're going to put a harder effort than they did against Indiana, but your job is to not let them. You slap them back down. Like, no, you're not doing that against us. Do that next week against Northwestern or whatever you're doing. All right, let's take a caller. I'm sorry. Let's see. I don't know who this is.
Michael from Silver Lake.
Hey, Michael.
Hi, how are you? I have a question here. Do you think that the weakness of the starting schedule created a mirage that USC had changed, had rounded the corner, and now was a truly competitive, could be truly compete for a championship? In your opinion, do you think that is a realistic vision of this team? For me, compared to what I see some of the other top teams, USC doesn't even compare in physicality, in complexity, and I was wondering whether this 4-game easy schedule created this mirage. Oh, we're on the road to the playoffs. What is your opinion on that? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Michael. I think the schedule actually set up well because you needed to work some of these young guys in and figure out some of the stuff on defense, and it was sort of a slow buildup. And then you get to this Illinois game, and they're not as good as you thought, and they're coming off a horrible loss. And if you progressed, you should have been fine. And USC wasn't. When USC took care of business early in the season against bad teams, we saw other top teams sort of play with their food. Everyone thought the Penn State game, maybe they were just saving everything for Oregon and their defense isn't that bad or their offense isn't that bad. No, it was pretty bad still. They didn't look that good against the bad teams, and it showed when they played Oregon until they came back, that furious comeback and stuff. But USC looked good. I think it was a good sign in that schedule. I don't think it was something that was masking anything. I think you want to see them play well against overmatched opponents, and they did. And you wanted them to build on that, and they actually regressed.
I do think there was a mirage, so I'll agree with the caller.
Okay.
But So before the year, I predicted 8-4, and then after these first 4 games, I was like, okay, I could see 9-3. I still think they'll have some trouble, but I definitely thought they were better. Not a championship team, but better. And yeah, that just hasn't been the case. And looking at it, it makes total sense where you go up against a team on the road that has a lot of experienced guys, and we all agree that Illinois wasn't the preseason top 10 that they were projected before the season, but in those games, USC's offense, was it good enough to put up over 40 points with all those backups in? No, but they still did enough to win. So the output on offense is a little less. And then defensively, when you lay an egg like that, they had some concerning moments in all 4 games defensively. And then what happens against Illinois, the best team on the schedule so far, they were good enough to exploit that defense. And I was just under the impression that with this defensive staff, maybe saving stuff is the wrong term, but like they'd be able to rally and they would give a really good performance knowing that, okay, we did what we needed to do for the most part in those first 4 games. Not that the real season starts in the middle, but now the challenge is elevated. Now we got to get our shit together.
This is when you needed to play well.
Exactly.
You needed to play well Saturday.
And it went the other way.
It was fine that you could play well against Missouri State or whatever. Like that's good. You need to play well Saturday,
yes,
and you didn't do it.
So I expected an improvement, and that was a little bit because of what I saw in those first 4 games, but also because of the trust in the defensive staff. And I took the cheese on all the offseason stuff, and shame on me for doing that. And, yeah, it didn't end up happening. So we'll see how the defense bounces back against Michigan because that's a physical team, and it's not going to be easy in the Coliseum against them in a couple weeks.
We got another call. This is like some kind of record, I think. This is Mark in Moore Park. Hey, what's up, Mark?
Hey, guys. Just optically, as you watch the game, last year it just seemed like in the trenches we were getting pushed around, especially our defensive line, all year. And what I'm looking at in this conference, if you look at the game plan for the people that we're going to be facing, it's going to be simple. Yes, Lincoln Riley's play calling, they're going to score on us. But if we can get a turnover or 2 and force them to punt a couple times, we're just going to eat clock and run the ball and push it down their throat. And Lincoln Riley can't hurt us if we have the ball for 9 minutes a quarter. So I don't care who we play. This seems to be an issue that I don't think we're going to be able to overcome this year because I don't see our guys gaining 20 pounds. And I know, Ryan, you keep saying we're paying these guys a lot. But if you're paying me and I'm 250 pounds, or 300 pounds, but the other guy's getting paid, he weighs 350 pounds, and he's getting paid, I'm going to take the guy who weighs 350. So my concern is we're just getting pushed around again, and teams are just going to drain clock on USC because they know Lincoln Riley's a great play caller. Your thoughts? Thank you so much.
Thanks. Well, they got a 360-pound guy, so.
And Silver's over 300 pounds, and they got
they're a lot bigger than last year, yeah.
Who are 290. So I get the call, and I understand like what he's talking about, where USC just needs to bleed clock, and they have the ball. Ideally, that'll be where they'll have success, and then you just got to hang on for dear life defensively. But how disappointing is it that is what they need to do to win? That after these 4 games, there are just so many 5 games. There are so many defensive mistakes that have added up that it's like, okay, against these good teams, you got to score, and you got to hope the defense just hangs on. I thought we were past the defense just needing to hang on.
No.
That is a joke. And I'm not saying the caller's a joke. It's a fair point. USC needs to hold on to the ball. They need to dominate clock. They need to score, and they just got to hold on based on that Illinois game. We'll see with Ramsey coming back, and if other things happen that they can tighten it up, maybe that'll change. But pretty clearly, that's their identity right now, where the defense will make some mistakes, and you got to outscore opponents. And when you had Danton Lynn and all the energy thrown into this defense, I thought even with Lincoln Riley, Mr. Offense, as the coach, that wasn't going to be your identity. And the fact that right now that's your identity, that is deeply, deeply disappointing.
Yeah, I agree. We got another one. Paulie.
How
you doing, Paulie? Welcome to Tunnel Vision.
Hey, hello, gentlemen. How you guys doing, man?
We got Riley here, too.
Hey, hello, Riley. How are you?
Hello.
Anyway,
Thanks for calling.
Hey, listen, I'll make this short and sweet. You know what? Obviously that was a tough loss. We took one on the chin. I mean, that was just a brutal beatdown that we took. I think the one thing that really troubles me is the lack of aggressiveness and physicality that we played with. It was just, they just kept beating us up. And, Josh Kruitz, the center for Illinois, his dad, Olin, is an all-decade, borderline Hall of Famer for the Chicago Bears for many years. And that's exactly how his dad, it reminded me of Olin out there, just pancaking people. I knew something wasn't right when I saw 18 on his back like a cockroach. I just felt so bad for the guys, man. They were just getting pancaked, and it was just a tough game. And then especially at the end, you know what? I am not the kind of guy that's going to go and bash any kind of player or coach because, I'm a supporter of the team regardless, win or lose, Trojans, no matter what. That's what's most important. But if I was Riley, I would have done the same thing. When you have an opportunity to you get a one-on-one situation like that with your best player, you got to make that throw. And he made it. I mean, we bled, I don't know how much off that clock. I mean, it was at 5-something, got it down to, 1:45, I believe. And for once, with that momentum that we had, I thought Lynn would be able to look his players in the eye and say, all we need is just one guy to step up, please. Step up, make a big play, and let's pack it up and go home. And I thought for some reason with that momentum that we had, scoring and everything, I thought it would charge the rest of the team up, and I thought we would move on with the victory. But kudos to Riley as well. What I look forward to is when Jaden threw that interception, he had his head down, and you could tell he was taking it really hard. And kudos to Coach Riley for going over there and really showing that side that a lot of people don't see, where he hyped him up. I don't know what he did, but he got him back on track. And so, I'm not going to bash Coach Riley for any of that. I just thought it was they just got the better of us on the defensive side of the ball. And it was just a good old fashioned. They beat us up. What more can you say? But anyway, gentlemen, you guys and I'm sorry, it was Riley, correct?
Yes.
Riley. Yeah. I wish you guys the best, and I love the show. I'm a faithful watcher, and I do put Trader Joe hash browns in my burritos now just because of you guys.
Amazing.
And so anyway, take care, guys. Fight on, and be safe out there.
Thanks,
Thank
Paulie.
you.
That was good stuff.
I get it. They did have some momentum at the end, but
maybe
I think you're a little naive.
Maybe he didn't watch the first
They're going to make a stop
55 minutes of the game. No, the drive started with 6 minutes left. They did, to his point, they did a good job of bleeding 4 minutes off the clock.
Yep.
But then you were in a great position to bleed the last couple, at least get some of the timeouts. I mean, an ideal situation is you can get a first down. Now you're inside. If you can do that on a couple runs, 2 timeouts, maybe a little bit of time, and you get another first down, now you have some time. You're going to make them waste some time or, last time out, whatever. Like, there's good opportunities there. Yes, you're running the risk of not scoring, but I think in that case, the offense was doing pretty much what it wanted. So I think you want the offense out there. Paulie had some confidence at defense. Yeah, you would think at this point you're going to rally around. He did say please in the middle, like, you want to rally around. You don't want to please, guys, make a stop. But it's like, hey, guys, someone make a play. We win this game if someone makes a play. We're going to be hounded because we played crappy defense all night. Someone go make a play, and we're gonna win this game. And no one was able to do it.
No one was able to make the key play.
We got another call. I don't know if we can take more. Let's do one more, and then we'll start some of the questions because we're like an hour in already. This looks like, I don't know, something from Salt Lake City. I'm not sure the name.
Yeah, Kate, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, thanks for calling in.
Yeah, thanks for having me. So real quick, I was just watching the game with my best friend who is a Ducks fan, so that kind of sucked. But he was basically saying, like, this kind of just looks like Alex Grinch all over again, and I mean, it does. I mean, I've been a fan since Reggie Bush and Matt Leinart, and so I've watched everything. And my question is, do you think Riley is incapable of fielding a good defense? Like, do you think this is a just head coach problem where, I don't know if it's how he practices or what, but it just seems like there's a common denominator here. I know it's a short sample size or a small sample size because it's just Grinch and Danton Lynn, but I just watched basically Alex Grinch 2.0 Saturday, and so yeah, that's my question. And then Mekhi Lemon for Heisman. Forget the Blitnikoff. Put that guy in New York. So thanks, guys.
Thanks for the call. And yeah, Makai's a stud.
It's exactly what Chris tweeted out too.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it does look a lot like those defenses where there's no confidence. I mean, it's different, but the confusion, there is more confusion there now too. So I don't know. I think with Grinch, there was a lot of stubbornness where you were putting guys in bad positions, and if they weren't doing the right thing, he was still like, hey, that's the right call. They just did the wrong thing. Like, well, if it's happening over and over again, you got to teach them something different, you know? And we saw the defense played way better last year and was less talented, and it's playing worse now with, I think, more talent, especially up front. So, yeah, there's not the veteran linebackers are gone. Some guys in the secondary, but I think there's enough talent here that they could put something together that is looks like a pretty good defense, and it's not close to that.
It's an interesting question about Riley as a head coach and whether that lends itself to playing good defense. I wonder if maybe when the ones go up against the ones in practice, if USC is trying to rep what it's doing on offense, is that not a good preparation for what a Big Ten team would do? Because not a lot of teams play offense like USC does. Maybe I'm grasping at straws. We can't watch the practices, of course, so I don't really have a good answer on that. But as more time goes on and more evidence builds, it is a small sample size for Lynn right now, and we need to see how they're going to respond. I'm not writing him off because I was pretty confident in him coming into the year, but I get the question, which it's a shame that we even have to be asking that.
Yeah.
But I do have serious questions about Riley, the head coach. And one thing is the penalties too, where that is bad on defense, but that's not just on Lynn. That's a head coach thing. That's a whole program thing. And USC just consistently has been really bad with the penalties. In 2022, they were in the hundreds nationally for most penalties and most penalty yards. And last year, they were 12th in the Big Ten in those stats, but the best of the Riley era, they were in the 60s for both of them. And now 128th out of 134 teams in penalties, and 131 out of 134 in penalty yards. And 2023, they were one of the worst teams in the country, too. At some point, you are what you are. So I don't know if USC will never be able to play good defense with Riley here, but I do know that the penalties have been consistent, and that's something that's gone on with all the different iterations of the coaching staff, and that starts and ends with him, and that's something they need to address, and he says they're addressing it every week, and it gets worse every week, so I don't really know what to make of that other than they're not doing enough.
Yeah. Let's you got some questions from YouTube
Yes,
we can get
we
to?
also have another super chat.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. $15 from Trojan Dale.
Wow.
It says, my professional analysis. Our defense is poo-poo. Is this the product of all of our mediocre recruiting classes? We need the 2026 recruits now.
That hasn't helped. That you're seeing that in real time for sure. But I think that the defensive line, I feel like they've done enough to be way better than what we saw. So I don't put that on the bad recruiting. They got some recruiting wins, and they have some younger guys there. But Anthony Lucas, you'd expect more from him. And Braylon Shelby's had some nice moments. And Cam Fountain was a recruiting win for USC. And in the middle, they've added some guys in the portal, and they just have a lot of depth there. Linebacker Eric Gentry is a really talented guy. I think they have the skill, and this is why, I know fans live and die with recruiting, but to me, I don't understand why you obsess over every little thing here and there. It's good they have the number one class in 2026, obviously, but, who knows who the heck from that group is going to come in and have an impact in this era where you can leave at will and the transfer portal and stuff. Who's to say that class will come in and have these awesome moments? Clay Helton had some pretty damn good recruiting classes, and those teams weren't very good. So I don't think anything is guaranteed right now, and it's a harsh reality, but that's kind of how I see it.
I mean, not only sorry.
No, go ahead.
Whether a matter of those recruits stay or go or transfer, but coming in as freshmen, they're going to need to develop anyway. So it's not like you said, Connor, immediately they're all going to have an impact. Some might, but that's a lot to put on a freshman.
And it's we're in year one of a rebuild a little bit where, okay, now Chad Bowden's here and they are doing great on the recruiting trail and Lynn is back. But in some ways, it does kind of feel like the first year, and it's the freaking fourth year, which is, of course, unacceptable.
Roger Dodger in the chat is a lot of discussion. Do you think last year's defense was better than this year's? And I think it was. Yeah. I mean, They never gave up 12.3 yards at completion to anybody.
Maybe to Penn State, I'd have to check. I don't think so, but I have a hard time going there. But maybe
We have to see the whole season too. But like
they didn't lay an egg like they did against Illinois last year defensively, right? Like trying to remember.
no, I mean the defense was mostly keeping it. The offense was mostly the problem. A lot of the times, like the defense was better. Like it's
Notre Dame scored a lot of points. Penn State scored a lot of points. But yeah, those road games like Michigan, it was a couple of busted runs.
yeah, but for the most part, they did. It wasn't. I don't think it was the same
I
thing.
can't believe we're having this conversation,
But
but,
it's-
I get it.
No, I think last year's defense was better, which is crazy. But
All right, let's get to some questions. Thank you to everyone who called in. A lot of questions about injuries. Killian O'Connor, any update?
No update, but I'm concerned, and I think we're going to be seeing a lot of big general moving forward. But
yeah,
we'll see. We'll try to get an update from Riley on Tuesday.
body language wasn't good. We haven't got an update. And I don't. Is he probably not going to do Trojans live on Monday because it's a
because
bye
of the
week?
bye, maybe.
Yeah, so
and
we'll
after
see.
a loss, I'm sure he doesn't want to do it either.
Yeah, that's true.
A lot of questions about the food poisoning. Let's see if I can find one from Facebook that I can put up. For the food poisoning issues, they need to fix that issue. Don't they have team chefs?
Yeah, I don't really know what happened there, where they went to some crappy hotel in the middle of nowhere, Illinois, because Champaign's kind of in the middle of nowhere, and the food was bad. I don't know. You'd think that with all the money that's going in, they would have something catered, but I don't feel like I know enough about the situation to have like a hard-hitting take. But yeah, I'm kind of surprised that it played out that way. You'd think that with everything that they have, all the resources, that is it logical to think they could make some food on site, or maybe not when you don't have grills and ovens and stuff.
I mean, they have
but-
like the nutritionists and stuff, and they're there. I mean, they were very helpful at Purdue because they had that long delay, and there was, they did a good job there. But I think you're going to have meals for like 100 people. Like you're not bringing, all that stuff. Like you're going to eat somewhere or have food brought in or catered or whatever. And I don't understand. Like we'll try to get more on like exactly what went down and where the food came from and all that. It was just really weird the fact that USC was being secretive about their early travel, and I think a lot of fans would have said, "Yay, you're leaving Thursday instead of Friday. That's great." And it wasn't like you changed your mind. It's like the game was 9 a.m. It makes sense if you want to like try a different, go a day early. And I reported this in the war room the week before that there was significant challenges because you have this charter scheduled and it's not easy to just move. So there was, but if you're able to do it, and we heard they were going to do it, this is great. But I don't know why it was this like state secret. And were you worried that someone's going to like do something to your food or ring doorbells? I don't know, but you were worried about someone finding out that you were traveling early and something bad happened associated with travel. So there's something is weird there. I'm not sure what.
Not sure either.
Yeah. But that was just weird to me.
Another question, this one from YouTube. Brighton Diaz says, I don't really like the 4-2-5 defense. What's the point of having 5 DBs when none of them can cover?
It's just modern college football where
It's the
teams
base defense now.
throw the ball so much. So I get the question. But USC did start with 5 defensive linemen in that game, which we haven't seen a lot of. But, yeah, I don't know. I really think they didn't have a contingency plan for Kamari at nickel, clearly, and that came back to bite him in a big way.
Yeah. It was like a 5-2-4, which I forget which coaches were kind of doing that early. But, that's just they mixed it up a little bit. But when you throw it that much, like you need those DBs. And, they're not playing very well right now.
Trojan fight. Any expectation Prophet Brown is back after bye week? I heard if not, he's likely to redshirt.
I don't know about likely to redshirt, but Riley didn't really give a good update in terms of him coming back soon after practice on Wednesday, I think it was, of last week's. I asked him, is a medical redshirt possible? He said it's possible, but let's not put the cart before the horse. They don't expect to have him for a few more weeks. So Alex Graham is the one who might play against Michigan, and that'll help if that can push Kamari back to nickel. But I'd love to see D. Reddick if Graham isn't able to play, like, let's have D. Reddick be the nickel, use these 2 weeks to get him up to speed. It's clear the staff trusts him, that they've really liked him from the beginning, and get Kamari Ramsey back to his safety spot. That can certainly help.
El Gordo Flacco, did Ryan bring the jacket? If not, I blame Ryan for the loss.
Blame me. It was 85 degrees. I wasn't bringing like a heavy jacket. I had like my long sleeve USCfootball.com like quarter zip or whatever. But it was, this was not winter weather. Like literally, people at Illinois were complaining. They wanted it to be crappy weather because it's USC. And it was like Southern California weather. I mean, it was beautiful. We were like cold in the press box because it was closed and air conditioned. I get it because it's normally crappy there, but those are one of the games you'd love to have all these windows open and stuff. Then we went down to the field to do like the interviews. And I was like, oh my God, it's hot down here. I didn't even realize that but yeah, it was beautiful. So it was not jacket worthy. I'm sorry.
Dang, Ryan.
I mean, you could blame me, but it was just, you look like an idiot wearing a winter jacket.
You should blame me for being so confident USC would win.
Yeah.
Okay. I was a lot of people were.
We mostly were, yeah. Just seeing the way this team was playing, and we were wrong.
Yeah, we can admit that.
We're wrong
okay.
sometimes.
It's okay. Andrew is asking, who are you guys expecting to be healthy coming off the bye, and can we take anything Riley says about injuries serious? He said Page shouldn't be anything serious and was out.
Yeah, it's tough to take him serious. Sometimes
they're being very coy about.
Gives good info. I think Jacoby Lane will be good, back to his normal self for the most part. The fact that he played was a great sign against Illinois, even though he was clearly limited, couldn't raise his arm. So can I just do a quick aside? So
yes.
I was monitoring the Jacoby Lane injury thing before the game really closely, trying to give people updates nonstop. And at one point, he was playing catch with Lemon, but Lane wasn't throwing the ball back. And I tweeted out that Jacoby Lane, it looks like he may play. He's catching the ball with Mekhi Lemon, like he's going through the warm-ups, but he's not throwing the ball back. And then I got so many smart aleck responses, like, luckily we don't need him to be the quarterback. We don't need him to throw. We don't need to throw. The whole point was that he's not throwing because his shoulder's hurt. Yeah. I probably should have just said that. But, like, hello, put 2 and 2 together. The fact that he's not throwing it. Usually he'd just throw it back to Mekhi Lemon. They play catch. He's not throwing it. It's because he was injured.
Yeah, those guys love throwing the ball because they just do it. Like, so if you're watching the quarterbacks warm up, you usually don't want the quarterback catching. A receiver will stand next to him. They'll throw the ball, and then the receiver catches it and hands it to the quarterback. Like, that's pretty normal. When receivers are doing it, they love throwing the ball. They're going to throw it whenever they get. They're not, oh, I'm a receiver, you throw the ball for me. You know, if you're warming up the quarterback, it's one thing. But if receivers are just throwing the ball around, the fact that he couldn't throw was saying that his shoulder was hurting. So that was, yes. So people do want to make, like, smart aleck remarks.
Yeah, I sometimes on Twitter I get very close to saying something and it's like, hey, don't do
But it did look like he was supposed to play like at all, and he ended up playing some, and then played up way more and caught passes.
Yeah, and helped them at the end and would just go down. He was awesome. Injury stuff. So Killian O'Connor, I don't think his prognosis will be good, but we will see on that. Elijah Page, who knows? Hopefully after the bye, but I wouldn't guarantee anything right now. Any other big ones? Alex Graham should be coming back. Riley gave a good update on him. They got to get healthy. DeCarlos Nicholson got banged up in this game. He's obviously really important. If they lose him, good
their
riddance.
best corner, yeah.
Did it seem like just cramping throughout the game? He's going in and out.
He has a hamstring thing, so hopefully that's not a serious pull or anything.
Yeah.
Skate for Life said, are we really blaming food? We're not blaming food. We're just telling you about the food. There was food poisoning going on. Like, no, I said, listen to the opening rant. I was like, doesn't matter. I don't care. So whatever. You figure they get enough good players. You could play better than what you did out there.
Should we do one more question?
Sure.
All right. Question. We know Michigan is a running team. Do you believe Michigan might change their offense to be more passing?
Oh, no.
I mean, a little bit. Wouldn't you?
I mean, Michigan's going to do what they're going to do.
Well, I agree, but they'll throw it a little bit, I imagine, against these defensive backs, what they've put on tape.
You get some confidence for your freshman quarterback. Yeah.
Michigan is going to be a tough game. Before the season started, I always thought with them having a true freshman quarterback against Stanton Lynn's defense, I was like, okay, at home, USC. I think USC is going to go undefeated at home this year. Oh, after that Illinois game, obviously you can rule nothing out. And that physical style, that smash mouth style that Michigan plays, especially defensively, they're going to limit USC's offense. USC will still score, but it might be a game where they only get to 28 or 27. I don't know if they'll get to 30. That defense for Michigan's pretty good. Remember, Nebraska scored the amount of points they did thanks largely to a Hail Mary at the end of the first half, so that was a little bit of a fluky play. Michigan has some confidence after that Nebraska win. They play Wisconsin. They'll roll, I think, before coming west to play USC. All of a sudden, with the way this defense is playing, that game looks way tougher to me than it did at the beginning of the year.
Indiana beat the crap out of Illinois. Brett Bielema gets the guys together and galvanizes them. Hey, we ain't letting that happen again. Well, that's what Lincoln Riley and Danton Lynn, they have to do that too. You're like, look, that defense got pushed around. This ain't happening again. We are taking it to, we're at home. These Wolverines, they beat us last year. We should have beat them. Whatever you got to say to them, you're going to take this pretty damn seriously and take it to them. That's what you have to do if you're a coach. Don't get pushed around. You do the pushing. You make them play your game. And you can do that. Illinois did it. They bounced back. USC has to do that too. The coaches get paid plenty of money. Figure out a way to motivate these guys and get them to play hard and get them to play pissed off and with a chip on their shoulder. That's what Illinois did. I think USC's got to do the same thing. Can't go out and lose to Michigan. I just don't. I think they're okay. I think they're pretty good. There's good talent, some defensive guys and all that stuff. You got a freshman quarterback on the road in the Coliseum. Take care of it. Just figure out a way, get the win.
It's a must win. You're right.
Yeah.
I agree. Who knows? Maybe that Indiana game was the best thing for Illinois. Maybe this Illinois loss is going to be the best thing for USC. Obviously, still a lot of questions and a lot of season left to play. Any closing thoughts?
Appreciate everyone calling in.
Yeah,
we had a ton of calls, all the questions and everything. Yeah, I don't know. It was funny, just being there. It was a weird, obviously morning game, and we do our work. We went back to Chicago, got some deep dish pizza, watched some games, got up super early, flew back, and it was sort of rested. So this was sort of like a way to I kind of got to let everything marinate in my brain to be that was awful. That was I don't think I said that my 3 keys or anything, whatever. That was bad. And you have to all the talk we heard in that offseason about getting better at this and that. And I like the moves they made. I like bringing in Chad Bowden and
Jermaine Carroll.
Yeah, I like all that stuff. But now you got to make it work. And whatever you got to do, if a guy's out here or there, doesn't matter. Just you got to make it work. That's your job. Go do it. You get paid a ton of money. Make it happen. So they didn't do it against Illinois. And like you said, Riley, maybe that's the best thing for them. If they come out and play really well against Michigan and they start playing well the rest of the season, then they used it as a wake-up call. It's like the Tim Tebow moment when they lost to Michigan State not Michigan State, Mississippi State, I think it was. And he was like, we're never going to lose another game again. You're never going to see us play this bad. And just boom. And they played great the rest of the season. Can USC do that? I don't have a whole lot of comments they can, but I think that's what has to happen.
My final thought. So Lincoln Riley last week talked all about how this is the most confident he's been in a team at USC, and he feels like they have the most talent out of all his teams. And, man, I took the cheese. I thought his confidence, that was going to get through to the team and we'd see a much better performance defensively against Illinois. I just bought into what he was saying because we hadn't heard him talk like that in years. And shame on me for buying in. So that was a big part of why I was so confident, because I thought USC's head coach was saying stuff that I hadn't heard him say before, and he was really buying in. And then for them to come out and lay an egg like that, it was a little bit head-scratching. But it wasn't like the defense was perfect heading into the Illinois game. There were some mistakes before. That was a surprise to me. I just thought things were trending towards, a good performance. Yes, some injuries, but this is the next phase of the schedule. You got to take it up a notch and just be better. And for the defense to take that giant step back, leaves a bitter taste in your mouth, as I said. And we'll see how USC responds, because they got to respond. They still have good enough talent, I think, to have a successful season. And it's certainly not over. They lost on the last play of the game for all the faults. There's still some stuff to like. I'm not saying the sky is falling, but it's definitely teetering more than I thought. So we'll see.
I agree. Defense wasn't perfect at the beginning of the season, but I do think the easy schedule kind of served as a facade of what, was kind of lingering underneath. But thank you to everyone who listened, who called, the super chats. If you came in a little bit late, make sure to go to the beginning so you can hear Ryan's rant. his opening rant.
Connor had a good rant too.
Fair share of rants. But yes, thank you for tuning in. And what's up next week? Bye week. But this week, what do we have going on?
We're going to do an earlier show on Wednesday, like a podcast with Connor and I. No Thursday because there's no preview, and no Sunday show next week because there's no game. So we'll be back the following Thursday previewing USC and Michigan. We'll still have a bunch of podcasts and stuff going up, but just no tunnel visions until we preview Michigan.
Yeah. Again, thank you, everyone.
Unless something crazy happens, and then we got to do like emergency one.
Hope not.
We'll be ready. I'm Riley Sager, Ryan Abraham, Connor Morrissette. Thank you, guys, and see you soon.